Good morning. Thank you for joining us on Sunrise on Salt Television. The mood generally in the country is a sober one. You know, but the amazing thing is that the Bible was so very correct when it says a time to be born and a time to die. So while some people are leaving the country, others found their way into the country this day so many years ago. So while we are not so very in an exciteful mood considering the passing of the former president of Nigeria, General Muhammadu Buhari, we are excited that it's someone's birthday today. Yeah. I know you weren't expecting that, but Laura right here in the studio is celebrating, or rather has been reminded she has to celebrate, because I do not know how on earth do people forget their birthdays, right? How on earth does such happen? Thank God for Facebook and all the social media that makes it a note. Thank God for the banks that also remind you, even if your account balance is 1 naira 0 kobo, they just remind you to say, okay, so it's your birthday today. Behold the birthday girl, ta-da! Drum rolls!
Oh boy,
happy birthday! Oh, happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you!
Oh my God, Amaka! What a day to celebrate! Oh my gosh! Well, it's a mixture, like Amaka did say. A time to be born and a time to die. Though we are mourning the passing of our one-time president and a military leader, Buhari. Fortunately, it's also my birthday. Although he died yesterday, my own is today, so it's not the same thing. Welcome to Sunrise on Salt TV here in Ebonyi State, Nigeria. And we want to say a very big welcome to you and to the nation that is in mourning. We sympathize with the immediate family and, of course, to all of us, because we are all Nigerians and it is not a very good time. We would wish he had stayed long, at least, to be a statesman and remain a statesman and be a consultant on leadership. Welcome to Sunrise on Salt TV. I am Laura Manzi. So basically today we are just going to be looking at all what the headlines had to say about the legendary Buhari. Thanks for joining us.
Today, on the front pages of the national dailies, basically every national daily has something on General Muhammadu Buhari or His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, however way you choose to address him. Some call him a legend. Some other people have more unpalatable names for him, but that's not for us to say. Let's take you through the front pages of some Nigeria dailies and see what they have to say. We'll begin with The Punch. The Punch says, Tinubu ex-leaders gather for Buhari's burial in Daura today. Tribute as Awujale of Ijeboland passes at 91. That's also another sad story. And somehow, Politics managed to make its way to the Punch front page. 2027, the APC plots major NWC shakeup ahead of the December convention. And of course, we have that 9 states delay teachers 70,000 naira minimum wage. Now let's move over to the Daily Times. Daily Times says Buhari dies in London. Shetima Bajambia Mila to escort body home. Awujale of Ijebuland, Oba Adetona, dies at 91. The man, Muhammadu Buhari, 127 airpiece passengers unhurt as plane misses runway, amongst other things. Now we get to Daily Trust. Daily Trust says Muhammadu Buhari, 1942 to 2025. End of an era. Now, if you would want to take an in-depth look at that story, you can find them on pages 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, and 44. Awujale dies at 91 after 65 years on throne. Now, we'll have an excerpt from the president's speech. It says, Buhari stood firm through the most turbulent times, leading with quiet strength, profound integrity, and an unshakable belief in Nigeria's potential, according to Tinubu. All right, so we'll continue to look at other papers now. We have Daily Sun. Daily Sun says, curtain falls for Buhari, Awujale, flags at half-mast as Shetima leaves for London to accompany body of ex-president home today. Tinubu, Atiku, Carlos, senators, others mourn. And we get to this day newspaper that says, a nation mourns the death of a man who gave his all to Nigeria. Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, 1942 to 2025, a life of service. Now we head over to Vanguard newspaper. Vanguard newspaper says the lodge of tributes as Buhari dies at 82. How he traveled to London, took ill, died. Tinubu orders Shetima to bring home Buhari's body from United Kingdom. Declares 7 days mourning. Summons emergency FEC meeting tomorrow. Obasanjo, IBB, Jonathan, Atiku, Oshibanjo, Akpabio, Obi, governors, others pay tribute. All right, we'll move over now to the Guardian newspaper. I think that's the last for today. 2027 presidency may use court to scuttle ADC, Mark wants. Tinubu, reflections on legacy as Buhari bows out at 82. The man, his legacy, policies, health, and controversies. And now I am thinking, what exactly was the first thing that came to mind as soon as you heard the news that Buhari kicked the bucket?
Honestly, it was that of a mixed reaction, really. I wasn't happy about it, really, because I had wanted him to stay more. Perhaps with time, so many untold stories, untold truth about his period in leadership will now begin to emerge. You know, just the other day, his former aide on media, Alhaji Shehu, right, launched a book about the time he was in office as one of his media aides. And unfortunately, I've not been able to get my hand on that to read precisely all the things that he had to say about his time in office with Buhari. Buhari was also known as a man of two parts. As a matter of fact, a lot of people believed that having led as a military dictator, because it was a dictatorship in 1983, when he came in through a coup. I think he overthrew Shehu Shagari and came in, and then introduced war against indiscipline. So many. He was so high-handed at that period that There was gagging of the press. There are things you just don't talk about. Politicians like Ali, the then Bendel State governor. A lot of people were jailed, even for slightest things. You were thrown into jail for quite a number of years. He was so high-handed as a military dictator. So people were now expecting that, having come back, having gone through the rigors of life, seeing that life is not always as you think, God gave him an opportunity to come back as a leader again under a democratic setting. We expected that he would have taken leave from his past barely 2 years in office as a military dictator or a leader to correct certain things that didn't go so well at that period. But for some, it turned out to be the opposite. During his period as, because, Nigerians, we are fond of just saying the good things after people die. But we also need to say the good and the bad, because that is the only way we can keep accurate and proper history of events for those who are upcoming and who will want to learn from the good and the bad and the ugly. So there were other sides to this leadership. One expected that when he came back, we were going to have, in fact, he was more like he was a movement, especially in the northern part of Nigeria. He had so much, he became like a cult that people clustered so much around him. People so believed in his integrity persona, you understand, and the discipline and all that. So we had so much expectation that when he came back, things were going to be better. They had the toga of corruption that the then administration of Goodluck Jonathan was so corrupt, so they were coming to change things, and people so believed in him. And voila, when their own time came, Nigeria appeared not really. Nigeria went from bad to worse in terms of economic planning, in terms of security. The security architecture became really, really bad to the extent that it was no longer safe. The security that was so bad in the northern part, especially the northwest, now extended to other parts of the country. So for me, it was like he should have stayed longer to see how, even from the outside, things can be corrected.
All right, so we are going to be showing you a video now, courtesy of Arise News, on the life and times of President Muhammadu Buhari, after which we'll take a break until it will be time for us to bring you the Salt TV News. We'll return after that to dissect more of the man, Buhari, who he was.
It is necessary that we take another look at our revenue sharing formula, especially the vertical aspect that relates to the tiers of government.
Sunset on Nigeria's former President Muhammadu Buhari, marking the end of an era characterized by service to a country he served, loved, and fought for. The passing of former president filtered in late Sunday, sending shockwaves across the length and breadth of the country. Buhari died in a clinic in London from an undisclosed ailment, drawing the curtains on the life and time of one of Nigeria's foremost political figures in the last 6 decades. As a soldier, Buhari has always been at the background of top military operations. He led the Nigerian troops to Chad when the Chadian troops invaded Nigeria during the regime of late President Shehu Shagari in April 1983. He was also at the forefront of battle during Nigeria's civil war that lasted 3 years, from 1967 to 1970. Buhari also served as military governor of Borno State under the regime of former military head of state Olusegun Obasanjo between February 3, 1976 and 5th of March 1976, and subsequently served as Federal Commissioner of Petroleum and Natural Resources between March 1976 and June 1978. Buhari's biggest stage as a soldier and perhaps most memorable moment for many Nigerians was the military coup on New Year's Eve, the 31st of December 1983, that announced him as head of state. The reign was short-lived as it lasted just 20 months. On August 27, 1985, as head of state, many Nigerians can easily remember Buhari's war against indiscipline and his ruthless, uncompromising stance against corruption, the public image and posture of integrity he maintained throughout his tenure as Nigeria's democratic leader and his lifetime. At the return of civil rule in 1999, Buhari joined active politics, taking his first shot at the presidency in 2003. Buhari made 3 more attempts before clinching victory in 2015, defeating the then sitting president Goodluck Jonathan under the platform of the All Progressive Congress EBBC. For 8 years, Buhari presided over a tough economic and political era, determined to fight state corruption to a standstill. In one of his popular quotes, Buhari said, quote, "If we don't kill corruption, corruption will kill us." Born on 17 December 1942 in Daura, the veteran soldier and astute politician died aged 82. Omo Bazwai, Arise News.
Alright, so that video which you just saw on a brief biography of the man, late General Muhammadu Buhari, was courtesy of Arise News. We had to share it with you so that would sort of let you know more about this man. So many people know him as just the immediate past president, but we just had to bring you that news. And no matter how much you hate Buhari, it's still very not easy calling him, attaching late to his name. But it's happened, and it's happened. The first thing that came to mind when I heard the news was that of this belief. Is that really true? Is this man really dead? And then I felt sad, for reasons I'm yet to understand, maybe because he's human as well. And then again I said, are you sure that's not? I thought Buhari had died, and maybe it's Jubril that died now. But what do I know? We'll take a break now for the Salt Television News. When we return, we'll talk more about the passing of the former president, the only one of 2 men who happens to be military administrators and civilian presidents in Nigeria. My name is Amaka Izuchukwu. See you after the news on Sunrise and Salt Television.